Good morning, everyone. Welcome all of you all to our next topic in cost accounting. And I'm sure by now you all have started enjoying this subject of cost and management accounting. So yes, very good morning, Pavan. Good morning, Silesh, Vanipreet, Almaz. Good morning, all of you all. Yes, Boma. So before I start teaching you the next topic, as our custom is that we will first discuss all your doubts and queries. Anything that you have not understood, you are not able to link, because now you are in middle of this subject. And today the topic that we are going to start is going to link many of these concepts. So let me first take up your questions. Let me first take up your doubts, and then we will proceed with the further part. Okay, Rohan, please go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Very good morning, Rohan. Please tell me.
Sir, in cost accounting, what is cost pool? Activity-based costing, what is cost pool?
Okay. See, when you're talking about cost pool, though this term is used only in ABC, but it has a generic meaning. What is this generic meaning? Let us understand. See, what is pool? We use this word wherever, let us say, there is swimming pool or there is resource pool. We use this word pool. So, what is a pool? Pool means where things accumulate and come together. Similarly, whenever you are bringing together cost of the first activity, let us say it is order placing, of the second activity, which is setup, of the third activity, which is packing, of the fourth activity, which is dispatch. So, what you are doing is you are bringing all expenses together at one place, making it a pool. Pool means a total. And since this total is of a particular activity, that is why you call it as the activity cost pool. Giving you the answer in another language in very simple raw words, activity cost pool means the total cost of that activity. Fine, beta?
सर कॉस्ट शीट बनाते समय जो एक्टिविटीज वाला पार्ट होता है उसको हम कॉस्ट पूल बोल सकते हैं ना?
नहीं बेटा, इनफैक्ट जब कॉस्ट शीट आप बना रहे हो तो उसमें जो एक्टिविटीज वाला पार्ट है वहां पे तो आपने एक्टिविटी चार्ज की. सी, let me explain you like this. So here I am preparing the cost sheet. कॉस्ट शीट में आपने डायरेक्ट मटेरियल, डायरेक्ट वेजेस, डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंसेस, ये तीनों चार्ज कर दिए, आपको प्राइम कॉस्ट मिल. नाउ अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग, कॉस्ट शीट यू आर प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर वन सिंगल प्रोडक्ट or job or batch of whatever you are doing costing. So today I am doing costing of 1044 batch number. Now, when I'm doing costing of this batch number, in a year, I may be preparing hundreds of different batches, out of which this is one of the batch. अब यहाँ पे जब आपको ओवरहेड्स चार्ज करने हैं, तो आपने क्या किया? आपने एक्टिविटी वाइज ओवरहेड्स चार्ज करना शुरू किया, जिसमें ऑर्डर प्लेसिंग है, फिर रिसीविंग है, फिर स्टोरिंग है, फिर सेटअप है, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. अब यहाँ पे आप क्या कर रहे हो? जो आपने इसके पहले काम किया, आपने इसके पहले क्या काम किया? यू कैलकुलेटेड द एक्टिविटी कॉस्ट ड्राइवर रेट. व्हाट इज एक्टिविटी कॉस्ट ड्राइवर रेट? सिंपल वर्ड्स में, हमने इसके पहले ओवरहेड चैप्टर पढ़ा हुआ है. ओवर देयर आई हैड सेड दैट वी हैव अ चार्जिंग रेट. हमें हर कॉस्ट जिसको भी चार्ज करना है, कोई भी कॉस्ट हो, हर कॉस्ट को चार्ज करने के लिए वी रिक्वायर टू थिंग्स. वन इज द फिजिकल मेजर एंड वन इज द चार्जिंग रेट. अब ओवरहेड चैप्टर में इसी चार्जिंग रेट को हम क्या बोलते थे? ORR, ओवरहेड रिकवरी रेट. द सेम थिंग इज कॉल्ड एज एक्टिविटी कॉस्ट ड्राइवर रेट. यानी हर एक्टिविटी को, इस जॉब को या आपके प्रोडक्ट को चार्ज करने वाला रेट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज एक्टिविटी कॉस्ट ड्राइवर रेट. अब यहाँ पे आने वाला जो भी अमाउंट है ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ दिस चार्जिंग कैन नॉट बी कॉल्ड एज कॉस्ट पूल ऑफ दैट एक्टिविटी, क्योंकि मैंने इस एक्टिविटी के टोटल कॉस्ट में का एक छोटा सा पार्ट यहाँ पे चार्ज किया. तो इट कैन नॉट बी कॉल्ड एज कॉस्ट पूल ऑफ दैट एक्टिविटी. आई होप यू आर गेटिंग दिस पॉइंट. कॉस्ट पूल इज इसके पहले वाले स्टेटमेंट में, जहां पे आपने ये स्टेटमेंट बनाया ना, ऑर्डर प्लेसिंग, इंस्पेक्शन, फिर स्टोरिंग, और यहाँ पे आपने सारे ओवरहेड्स ऐड करके आपने टोटल कॉस्ट निकाला हर एक्टिविटी का. दिस इज द एक्टिविटी कॉस्ट पूल. इसको आपने डिवाइड किया एक्टिविटी के कॉस्ट ड्राइवर से. जैसे ये ऑर्डर प्लेसिंग है तो आपने इसको नंबर ऑफ ऑर्डर से डिवाइड किया. ये
अच्छा।
इंस्पेक्शन है तो आपने यूनिट्स
ओके सर।
इंस्पेक्टेड से डिवाइड किया. तो हम जिसे ओआरआर बोलते थे ओवरहेड चैप्टर में, उसी को यहाँ पे बोलते हैं एक्टिविटी कॉस्ट ड्राइवर रेट. तो ये आ गया समझो, जो भी अमाउंट है इट इज कमिंग टू ₹450 पर ऑर्डर. कॉस्ट पूल ये है बिकॉज दिस रिप्रेजेंट्स टोटल कॉस्ट ऑफ दिस एक्टिविटी. कॉस्ट पूल ये
ओके।
है बिकॉज दिस रिप्रेजेंट्स टोटल कॉस्ट ऑफ दिस एक्टिविटी. अब जब आपने यहाँ पे ये मल्टीप्लाई करके ये चार्ज किया, आपने इस टोटल में का थोड़ा सा ही अमाउंट यहाँ पे चार्ज किया इस जॉब को. तो दिस कैन नॉट बी कॉल्ड एज एक्टिविटी कॉस्ट पूल. एक्टिविटी कॉस्ट पूल, कॉस्ट पूल मीन्स टोटल कॉस्ट. तो अगर आप एक्टिविटी कॉस्ट पूल की बात करो, इट इज टोटल कॉस्ट ऑफ दैट एक्टिविटी. सो कॉस्ट शीट में वो नहीं आता. कॉस्ट शीट में उसका एक पार्ट आता है जो आपने कॉस्ट शीट में चार्ज किया. करेक्ट बेटा?
सर जब सारे सारे एक्टिविटीज़ का कॉस्ट को मिला करके कॉस्ट पूल बोलेंगे कि एक सेपरेट सेपरेट
जी,
कॉस्ट पूल?
फिर वो तो आपके पूरे बिजनेस का कॉस्ट पूल हो गया. आप उसको कॉस्ट पूल बोलो, पर फिर वो बिजनेस का कॉस्ट पूल हो गया, जबकि यहाँ पे द वर्ड इज एक्टिविटी कॉस्ट पूल. सो एक्टिविटी कॉस्ट पूल इज
ओके
ईच
सर।
एक्टिविटीज टोटल कॉस्ट. अब आप बोल रहे हो मैं ये सारे कॉस्ट को मर्ज कर दूं तो वो भी टोटल कॉस्ट है, पर वो तो बिजनेस का टोटल कॉस्ट है. वो तो एक तरह से आपके प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस के पीएनएल के डेबिट साइड की टोटल हो गई, टोटल ऑफ ऑल योर एक्सपेंसेस. पर उसका हम क्या
यस।
करेंगे? चार्ज करने के लिए आई नीड कॉस्ट पर डिपार्टमेंट, जैसे हमने ओवरहेड चैप्टर में किया, या कॉस्ट पर एक्टिविटी जो हम एबीसी में करते हैं. तो एक्टिविटी कॉस्ट पूल विल ओनली मीन कॉस्ट ऑफ दैट एक्टिविटी, नॉट द कॉस्ट ऑफ ऑल एक्टिविटीज कंबाइंड. अंडरस्टूड?
यस सर.
यस.
Sir, and I had the doubt in the practical problem number 5.
ऑफ विच सब्जेक्ट, विच चैप्टर?
Sir, activity based costing.
अगर आप मुझे डायरेक्टली डाउट बोल सकते हो, आई कैन आंसर यू, बिकॉज राइट नाउ
No,
हियर आई एम
sir,
नॉट
I
हैविंग.
I solved the question but आंसर नहीं आया उसमें. तो मैं उसको पता नहीं चला मेरे को कि कहाँ पे मैं गलत जा रहा हूँ, तो एक
नहीं,
बार आप
क्वेश्चन
सॉल्व
5 फ्रॉम
कर.
वेयर, फ्रॉम मॉड्यूल?
हाँ सर, मॉड्यूल.
तो बेटा आई हैव टू फर्स्ट डाउनलोड द मॉड्यूल. मैंने वो रेडी नहीं रखा था बिकॉज मेरा जो टॉपिक नहीं था. So maybe in some time when you all are solving something else, I'll just check that sum. Or if you have the screenshot and you can mark the query, you can put it in the group. I'll directly answer you.
Yes sir.
Fine?
Sir, that quantity one, it was very
Sorry, beta.
difficult to understand that one. Okay, sir. Okay,
You
sir.
just
I
share it
will
in the group
send the
and just mark it.
screenshot.
I'll explain you.
Okay, sir.
Fine? Okay,
Yes, sir.
great. So, who else having a doubt or a question? Students, tell me, who else is having a question or a doubt? Gurmeet is saying, sir, in chapter 6, cost sheet practical problem 1, can we make a single statement for value of raw material and element of cost? Cost sheet practical problem 1, can we make a single statement for value of raw material and elements of cost? But again, Gurmeet, can you just put the image? Because until unless I see the question, I cannot answer you. Answering without looking at the question will not be correct, because I may have understood your query in a different manner, but it may be something different. Yes. Very good morning, Sneha, Bharat, Dharni, Nidhi. Prem, I think my voice is audible to everyone. Yes. Anybody else? Any questions in any topic relating to the subject, whatever you have studied or whatever you have practiced? Let me know. Yes, students. Anybody else? Any questions? No? Good. So then let me move ahead and let us go to the next part or the next topic relating to our subject of cost and management accounting. Now, our subject is termed as cost and management accounting, but till now, the topics that you were studying were majorly costing oriented. Today, the topic which we are studying is entirely cost accounting oriented. Now, to understand this topic, we will have to first understand some basic structure of accounting. Now, somebody will say, sir, basic structure humko malum hai. I know you all know this, but in order to appreciate and understand specifically what is different in cost accounting, let us have an comparative understanding. Now, in this comparative understanding, let me first start with what you already know. That is your financial accounting, what you have been studying from standard 11. So in financial accounting, broadly, I understand there are only 4 types of accounts broadly. What are they? They are expense accounts, they are revenue or income accounts, they are asset accounts, and they are liability accounts. That's it. So broadly, all your accounts, whatever number of accounts you prepare, you have studied till date, or you are further studying, all can be categorized only into 4 categories. Now, please understand, when you studied in standard 11, what is accounting, the basics of accounting, you would have understood or you have been taught one thing, that why this accounting started and what is the need or purpose of accounting. The basic purpose of financial accounting is understanding your financial position and communicating it to all the users of accounts which may be external to your business, like your shareholders, your bankers, government, SEBI, etc. Now, in order to understand or in order to find out what is the financial position of any business entity, we prepare their accounts, and the culmination, that is the end result of this account, is broadly 2 statements. First is your trading profit and loss account, and other is your balance sheet. Okay, now further you may have cash flow, fund flow, you may have segment reporting, those are all there. But the 2 most basic final products of your accounting is these 2 statements. Now, these 2 statements, how they are prepared, all the expenses and revenue accounts come here, where expenses are posted on the debit side, revenues are posted on the credit side. So at the end of the year, you come to know the first thing about the financial position of the company or that entity, that is how much the company earned. Secondly, all the account balances that represents either asset or liabilities, they are posted in balance sheet, whereby assets are put on this side, liabilities are put on this side. Okay. One more thing, students, now we do not follow this horizontal format. We have the vertical format, but just for simplicity, because right now I'm not in the formatting part and everybody is comfortable because everybody's taught from standard 11 this format of balance sheet. So just for making you understand. So when you post or when you put all your assets and liabilities in this balance sheet, you get to know the second aspect of your financial position, that is where that entity is standing today, what is the ownings and what is the payables. So these are the 2 major statements that show the financial position of a company, and then they are backed by other statements like, as I said, segment reporting statement or your EVA statement or your cash flow, fund flow statements, etc. Now, since the objective of cost accounting is different from financial, we will have different set of accounts and we will have different set of statements. Financial accounting, what was the purpose? Knowing your financial position and informing it to the world. This was the purpose. But what is the purpose and objective of cost accounting? It is not knowing financial position. That already you know, because you have majorly everyone is now preparing their financial accounts. So financial position you already know. In cost accounting, my objectives are finding out cost, fixing the selling price, achieving cost control, cost reduction, and also helping in decision making. These are the objectives or the purposes of cost accounting that you study in the first chapter relating to cost accounting. Now, in order to achieve this, that is ascertaining cost, fixing the selling price, achieving reduction, and also helping in decision making, the reports that we need, like here the reports were balance sheet, P&L, etc. But the reports here are different. We need cost sheet. Please understand. We need different types of control sheets. So these are the reports, these are the end results of cost accounting. Now, in order that I achieve these end results, whereby these statements could be prepared so that my objects of cost accounting is satisfied, the accounts that we prepare are broadly, and you prepare all expense accounts, like how you are doing in your financial accounting. The only difference is here the expense names are different. And secondly, you have the products. Now, these may be your batches, these may be your jobs, these may be your products, whatever. So you have the product accounts. So first understand the basic difference in the structure. Now, here, when in financial accounting you were preparing the expense accounts, you had a number of accounts that you prepared, starting from purchases, then direct wages, then all types of direct expenses, then you have indirect expenses, then you have printing stationery, rent, light bill, all types of professional fees. All these accounts you prepared in financial accounting. However, in cost accounting, when I have to prepare the expense accounts, according to cost accounting, if you remember right from the start, now our expenses are broadly material, labor, and overheads. And within overheads, you have production overheads, you have admin overheads, and you have selling and distribution overheads. So broadly, in cost accounting, we have only 5 main expense accounts: the material, labor, production overheads, admin overheads, selling distribution overheads. So we have expense account here also, but the terminology, the names are different. Acha, you have some technical names for this. I'll come to those technical names later. Let me first give you the basic structure, the basic names. Now, what is very different, which is not there in financial accounting, is the account for products. Since here, my objective is finding out cost, fixing price, controlling cost. All these are linked to my products because we have to find out cost of product. We have to fix price of the product. We have to do cost control, cost reduction again in respect of product. So now here, my perspective is different. Here I'm looking at the product. Now pay attention. When I'm looking at the product, I want to achieve all these objectives of costing, price fixation, controlling, etc. To achieve that purpose, a product account is divided into 3 parts, 3 stages. First, while the product is under production, that is manufacturing, we have the WIP account. Now remember, all these are the account related to one product. So for every product, I'll have these 3 accounts. First, till the product is under production, it is called as WIP. Once the production is complete and the product goes to the stores, it becomes finished goods. You have the finished goods account. And when this is sold to customer, it is COS account. Sometimes some books also call it as COGS. Fine. So broadly for products, you have 3 accounts: WIP till the product is under production, FG once the production is complete and the product is lying with you, and COS when the product is sold. So broadly, these are the accounts that you require for cost accounting. Now, besides this, you also have this account called as the costing profit and loss account, or in short, cost P&L. After I prepare these 5 accounts of expense, these 3 accounts for products, and 1 cost P&L, my purpose of cost accounting is achieved. All these objectives and purposes are achieved with these accounts. That's it. I don't need any other account for these objectives. How? Because I have prepared the product accounts, I can find out the cost. I can fix the price because all these accounts will show me the cost of that product. Further, since I have prepared the account expense wise and also for a product, I have prepared it stage wise, it will also help me in achieving cost control, cost reduction, because I will be able to find out the cost of product stage wise. And wherever I feel there is a problem, I can immediately take action of controlling reduction. Plus, in P&L, I will be getting profit and loss, but there is a difference between your accounting P&L, what is this and what is this. Here, how your accounting P&L is prepared, you debit all expenses of the entire entity, you credit all revenue of the entity, you get net profit of the entity. Here, in cost P&L, when we'll go to the entries, you will realize that what is debited is the total cost of each product. So let us say I have product X, product Y. So total cost of each product will be debited. Now you'll ask me, sir, how you'll get total cost of each product? That is from these 3 accounts. I will be preparing these 3 accounts for each product separately. So firstly, let us have product X WIP, product X finished goods, product X US. Similarly, I'll have product Y WIP, product Y FG, product Y COS. So since I'll be preparing these 3 accounts for each product, at the end in the COS account, I will get the total cost of each product, which will be transferred to my cost P&L. And then I will also put sales product wise, which anyways you can easily find out because you sell each product separately. So cost P&L will show me profit product wise, which will help me even in achieving this objective, which is decision making. Because once I come to know what is the profit or loss of each product, I can take appropriate decisions. To understand, students, the difference between the structure of your financial accounting as compared to cost account. So broadly, the accounts that we are going to prepare in cost accounting are for expenses, these 5 accounts, and for products, these 3 accounts. Anybody has any questions up to this point, we will discuss before I proceed. Tell me. Students, any questions up to this point? Silesh, you have put a question relating to supplementary rate. I'll now explain it later once I complete this particular part. Otherwise, different things will get mixed. COS क्या है? मोहम्मद बेटा, COS is cost of sales. आपने कॉस्ट शीट में पढ़ा रहेगा, ये सारे टर्म्स कॉस्ट शीट में यूज होते हैं, प्राइम कॉस्ट, फैक्ट्री कॉस्ट, प्रोडक्शन, कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन. So over there only you have cost of sales. Yes, you're right. So COS full form is cost of sales. Perfect. Further, students, any other doubt or question? No? Great. There is a question. Dharani is asking, the balancing figure in cost P&L will be different for each product, sir. Like we have to find different balancing figures to know the profit or loss of each product. See, the balancing figure in my profit and loss account here will automatically be net profit again of the whole business. We will not be finding out the balancing figure product wise. Here you can see both the things for each product, the total cost and sales. So you can individually identify what is the net profit of this product. Similarly, you can identify what is the net profit of this product that you can identify from this P&L. But here the balancing figure that will come will be of all products combined. In fact, there are going to be more entries here. I'm just giving you the broad structure. So ultimately, the balancing figure in this account beta will be the net profit or loss of the entity. But the point is, you can identify, you can see, you can find out the profit loss of each product, because now you know the cost of each product, and that is how it will help in decision making. Okay? Now coming to the most interesting point. What is this most interesting point? As you can see, we have these two types of accounting. One is financial, which you are doing right from 11th standard, and it is being done by majority all businesses. Every business which is doing accounting will obviously be doing financial accounting only. However, only few businesses are doing cost accounting. One, either because they require cost accounting for effective running of their business, hence they are doing, or two, because the Companies Act has made cost accounting and cost audit compulsory for certain set of companies, so they are also doing. So majorly today, all major business houses are doing cost accounting, either because it is compulsory, or even if it is not compulsory, it is very useful for the running of their business. Now, if let us say I am that one of the person for whom this cost accounting is either compulsory, or I want to do it for the purpose of betterment of my business. Now I am already doing financial accounting. I want to now also do cost accounting. The question is, can I merge both of them and do a single accounting? That is, I will prepare a single set of books, which will be also taking care of financial, which will be also taking care of cost accounting. So when I have to do cost accounting, the question that will come to me is, should I merge both the accountings? The answer is yes, you can, because here you require expenses, the same expenses are here as well. Only thing is, the new thing is you need product accounts that you can very well add here in the list. So you can merge both the books. You can, I'm saying. So the first possibility is, when you want to do cost accounting, you can merge both the accounting and prepare a common integrated set of books, which will be called as integrated cost accounting. Integrated means your financial and costing will get merged. Second possibility is that don't merge them, keep them separate. In that case, you will have a separate set of books for your financial as you are doing from standard 11, and you will have a separate set of books for cost accounting. So you will have two set of books, like how you can see on the screen. One set of books will be having all these accounts and these reports. Another set of books will be having these accounts and the follow-up reports. So you'll have two separate books of accounting, one for recording financial, one for recording cost. In that case, that approach will be called as non-integrated. So understand this, we have two approaches of doing cost accounting. One, merge it with financial. In that case, it will be called as integrated cost accounting. Second, keep both these books separate, prepare both them separately. So for every transaction, you'll have twice entry, one in your costing books, one in your financial books. In that case, that approach will be called as non-integrated. And that is why many times the heading that you get for this particular chapter is integrated and non-integrated accounting. So this chapter can simply be called as cost accounting, or the heading that you find is integrated and non-integrated. So why integrated and non-integrated? Because for cost accounting, you have these two approaches. Now, the question is, if I have to do integrated, how will my cost accounting look? If I have to do non-integrated, how will my cost accounting look? So that is what we are now coming to. Now, when you have studied financial accounting in standard 11, you studied that broadly you have two types of books. One is your general ledger, and then you had these subsidiary books in the form of purchase register, bills receivable, bills payable register, the sales register, the journal proper, etc. Similarly, in cost accounting, the general ledger which we prepare is over here called as the cost ledger. So like how you have general ledger in which all the ledger accounts are prepared, here also we have the general ledger which is called as the cost ledger in which all these accounts are prepared. So all these accounts that you have seen, all these are prepared in your cost ledger. And then again, similar to financial, here also we have subsidiary books. Now, what are these subsidiary books for? So they are for material, for labor, for overheads, for WIP, for finished goods. For everything, I have a separate book, a separate register, which is the subsidiary book. Now, for material, this is called as your stores ledger. This is your labor register. This is your overheads register. This is your WIP register. This is your finished goods register. Students, I'm sure you all have seen the stores ledger. Yes. Do you all remember stores ledger? Anybody recalls what is stores ledger? What you have seen in stores ledger? Students, do you all recall what is stores ledger? Anybody? You remember seeing what is stores ledger? Okay, correct. So, what do you recall doing in stores ledger? Interestingly, even though it is a cost accounting book, you all have studied this in financial accounting when you did or you were doing financial accounting. Do you remember? It is the FIFO-LIFO sums. Yes, Rohan, tell me.
Sir, in store ledger, we prepare three column. One is for receipt, second is for issues, and the third is for the balance. And the balances changes after every transaction.
So that is
Uh,
what is we call it as the FIFO-LIFO sums, right?
yes,
So students, whatever FIFO-LIFO sums you all have done. Yes, you want to say something else, Rohan?
no, sir.
Ah, great. So students, whatever FIFO-LIFO sums you all have solved, you studied FIFO-LIFO in standard 12, if I'm not wrong. There itself, what you studied was this subsidiary book called as the stores ledger. Even in our material chapter, we have the stores ledger. So understand this, in cost accounting, you have subsidiary books, which are all these ledgers. Now, interestingly, just to explain what is there in materials ledger, that is stores ledger, is you will have separate account for each material. Now it is not in this T form, it is just to represent. So for every material that you are using in your factory, you will have a separate page, you have a separate ledger where you are doing that FIFO-LIFO entries. Like what Rohan just said, you have those columns, date, particulars, receipt, issue, balance. This you will be preparing for each material separately. So you'll have a separate page for each material. So this is what is there in the materials, that is the stores ledger. Now, interestingly, I already said that here we prepare a material account. Now I'm changing the name of this. Now, since you know there is a separate material ledger or a separate material register where all the details of materials are kept, account wise. For each material you have a separate account, and that register is called as the stores ledger. That is why this account is called as stores ledger control. So what we call as materials in our simple language is now called as stores ledger control account in their technical language. So while solving sums, you will use this terminology, stores ledger control. Back of the mind, you'll understand that this is nothing but your material account. Since material details are kept here in the stores ledger, where for each material you have a separate page showing the details of each material, receipt, issue, balance, the price, the quantity, everything. Here we prepare one common account representing all materials. That is why it is called as the control account. So when you write control, what you mean to suggest is that this is not my only account. This is rather a summary of all accounts. Like if I have to relate it to something which you have already studied, you have something called as sundry debtors. Logically, there is no account called as sundry debtors in your book. You have account by the name of the parties, by party A, B, C, X limited, Y limited, etc. But we have a common heading representing all these in one place. That is what is sundry debtors. Similar to that, you have this concept of control account. So control, wherever you are using the word, you mean to suggest that this is a summary account. If anybody wants to see the detail of each material separately, they'll have to go to the stores ledger. Similarly, in my labor register, in a factory, you have different types of workers working of different skills, and each worker would be having a different pay package. Each worker would be devoting a separate time on every product. So in order that you charge labor cost properly, in order that you are having proper labor details for all your other purposes, you prepare a separate labor register where you have details labor wise. It includes their attendance details, which is the timekeeping, if you remember. It includes how much time each worker has spent on each job, which is the time booking. And then accordingly, you make all the calculations of labor wise. And all the details of labor wise is kept in the labor register. And again, here we have a single ledger account which will represent all labor at one place. So again, it is a type of a sundry account because I have multiple types of labor, and for each labor I will have different transactions, everything. So since this one single account represents all labor at one place, this account we will call as the labor cost control. So remember students, whenever we are using the word control, it means it is a summary account like the sundry debtors, sundry creditors. Similarly, for overheads, you remember overheads chapter, I had explained that you prepare overheads to find out how much is production overheads, how much is administration, how much is selling. So the details of these overheads, production overheads, administration, selling, you find in the overheads register. So again, this will be called as control accounts. So it will be production overheads control, it will be administration overheads control, it will be selling and distribution overheads control. Fine. So for each expense, you have a separate register giving the details of that expense. And in the cost ledger, you have one single account representing that entire expense. So that is why these are called as control. Now coming to product accounts. As you can already see the example which I had given to explain you the basic structure, I said that for each product, I will be preparing 3 separate accounts. And all these accounts will be prepared for each product. Now let us say I'm Mahindra and Mahindra company. I have a range of 100 different vehicles. So I will be preparing account for all 100 vehicles separately, and for each vehicle I will be preparing these accounts. What are these accounts? WIP, finished goods, cost of sales. Now, since I have 100 vehicles, so I will require 100 WIP accounts. These 100 WIP accounts are prepared separately here. So in your WIP register, you'll have a separate WIP account for each product. In the finished goods register, you'll have a separate finished goods account for each product. Again, in this, you'll have the FIFO-LIFO. See, FIFO-LIFO is not only for material. It will also be your final product, which will be kept in your godown. So whenever production happens, it will come in the receipt column. Whenever sales happen, it will come in the issue column. And then you'll have the balance showing the stock of each final product. So again, for each product separately, the WIP account will be in the WIP register. The finished goods account will be in the finished goods register. And again, here in my cost ledger, I will be having one single WIP account which will be the summary of all WIP accounts of all products. So for individual products, you'll have to go to the register. Here, the summary of all products will be at one place. So we call this as the WIP control, finished goods control. So now we come to the technical terminologies used in cost accounting. So for material, you have the stores ledger control account. For labor, you have the labor cost control account. For overheads, you have the production overheads control, administration overheads control, selling and distribution overheads control. Then for products, you have first the WIP control, the finished goods control, and this is COS. Actually, this should also be called as control, but they only call it as COS. So I'm using the word COS. These are the technical names of these products or these accounts, and why they are called as so, I have already explained by linking them to the subsidiary ledger. Now, anybody has any questions up to this point? Tell me. Bunnypreet is asking which category has to particularly maintain cost accounts. This is based on income or type of product they make or trade. No, beta. See, every company which is into manufacturing or which is into the service sector and which exceeds a certain turnover, they are made to prepare the cost records and get the cost audit done. This is what is provided in the Companies Act. So when you study the company law and you'll go to those sections, you will find that particular reference of cost audit and cost accounting. So I think this is what was your question, which category has to maintain cost accounts. So it is not based on income. It is mainly based on the turnover. So like even in our income tax, the higher turnover assessees have to get their books audited, maintain their books. Similarly for cost audit, the same thing is there. Fine. Did somebody raise hand? I'm not seeing anybody's hand raised, but I just felt that there was some pop-up. Okay. So now these are the final technical needs. Now coming back to my point. Now when I'm to do cost accounting, I have to first understand the structure which I explained. We should know the names of the accounts which I've explained. Now we come to the two approaches, the integrated and the non-integrated approach. Just give me a minute, students. 1 minute, please. Bunny Preet is asking, sir, is there a possibility that same expense may record twice in integrated? No, but I will see the recording. You'll get your answer. Sir, can you give a question which cover these registers and ledger? Prem beta, there is no question which covers these registers and ledgers because we have only questions of preparing the cost ledger, that is passing entries in these accounts. There is no question where you prepare the registers also. Yes, in material chapter or in any subject where you are doing the FIFO-LIFO sums, you are preparing the stores ledger register. So that is one register which you have already prepared when you are solving the FIFO-LIFO. Other registers we do not have anywhere. So unfortunately or fortunately, you don't have to prepare or you don't get sums on preparing those registers. Fine. Now students, we try to understand what is this integrated and non-integrated. Now, as you can see, or what if you understand and remember from what I have explained from the start, that for doing my cost accounting and achieving the objectives of cost accounting, I will require these accounts where the first one is material, you have labor, then you have the three overheads, you have the three products and the cost P&L. Now with these accounts, my cost accounting objectives are satisfied. But the problem is We prepare accounting following the double entry approach. Now it is across the globe that everybody follows the double entry approach, whereby for every transaction we have the corresponding debit and credit entries. Now here, if I have to prepare my cost accounting with only these accounts, what you can see on the screen, that is the 5 expenses, 3 products, and 1 P&L, you will not be able to complete the double entry. Like, I'll give you example, what I mean. So let us say I purchase material. Obviously, one entry is debit because material is purchased, so the material account has to be debited. But the question is where the credit will come. The answer is, if you look at all these accounts, credit cannot come in any of these accounts, because what is credited, what is going out, either it is the money, so your cash or bank has to be credited, or if it is taken on credit terms, the sundry creditors has to be credited. Now, the point is, if you can see, we do not have any account till now representing cash balance or bank or representing my creditors. The same problem will happen with all these expenses. Whenever you pay these expenses or incur these expenses, you can debit the expense account, but you do not have the corresponding account to credit. So, even though with these accounts, I can achieve the purposes of cost accounting, of finding out cost, fixing price, etc. What I cannot do is I cannot complete my accounting, specifically the double entry concept. Now, for completing the double entry concept, what I require further is all the accounts representing assets and liabilities like cash. I'm merging bank also. So cash and bank, the sundry debtors, sundry creditors, capital account, and all the reserves. I'm just combining them. Then all your fixed assets account like land, building, machinery, all those accounts. So let me make it separate. Plant and machinery, land and building. So I require all these accounts to complete the double entry. Here comes the difference between integrated and non-integrated. Firstly, what was integrated? Where I merge financial books and cost books and make only one set of books, it is called as integrated. Where I prepare separate books for each, cost separate books, financial separate books, it is non-integrated. Now understand this. If I have to follow the integrated cost accounting approach, that is merge both the set of books, then the accounts which I'll be preparing is exactly what you can see on the screen. So firstly, I'll be preparing all these accounts for expenses. Then I'll be preparing all these accounts for my products. I will be preparing the cost P&L, and I will be preparing all these accounts representing all my assets and liabilities. Now, what will happen with all these accounts? Firstly, because of these expenses accounts and these product accounts, my purpose of costing and cost accounting would be achieved, because that is achieved with these accounts. So I'll be able to find out costs, I will be able to fix price, do control reduction, etc. Similarly, at the end of this, when I prepare cost P&L, I will be getting profit product wise. So it will also help me in decision making. And also I will get the net profit of the entire entity. So even my object of financial accounting of ascertaining profit is getting satisfied with this. Now, since I have opened all these accounts for the double entry aspect, now I'll be having transaction in all these accounts also. And at the end of the year, I will be having the balance carried down in all these accounts, which will help me prepare my balance sheet at the end. So even the second requirement of your financial accounting, that is knowing your total assets and liabilities, will also get satisfied. It means with these set of accounts, I will be able to achieve the purposes of both cost accounting and my financial accounting in one book. So with one set of books, I will be able to achieve both the objectives of cost accounting and financial accounting. And since both these objectives are achieved, this is called as integrated accounting. I hope you all have understood, students, what is integrated. Yes. Is this clear to all what is integrated? So integrated is having all these accounts together. So what are the accounts that will be prepared in integrated? All these 5 expense accounts, these 3 product accounts, the cost P&L account, and then the assets and liabilities accounts prepared separately for each asset and for each liability. And this will help me achieve the purposes of both set of books. Hence, it is called as the integrated approach. So in integrated, these are the various accounts that I prepare. Now, let me tell you one interesting fact. Nowadays, people call it as fun fact. So what is the fun fact over here? The fun fact over here is that practically, wherever cost accounting is done, people follow non-integrated. All the entities, wherever cost accounting is applicable, are following the non-integrated approach. This is the fun fact. Question is, integrated approach appears to be more better. Why? Because you have to prepare only one set of books, and with one set of books, everything is done. But you are forgetting one thing. The moment I prepare one set of books like this, what you can see on the screen with these accounts, my P&L will appear differently like this, where in my P&L, the total cost and sales of each product will be appearing. So how much I am spending as cost of each product plus how much profit I'm earning on each product will get disclosed to the world, because these accounts have to be published. These accounts have to be shared with so many different external users of accounts. So the most sensitive and maybe the competitive edge which I'm having in terms of cost or profit margin will get disclosed to the world, which no business entity wants. So no business entity would like that their cost details, that their profit details product wise should be known to their competitors or to anybody. And hence, nobody will accept integrated accounting. So you have the non-integrated approach where you already have all these accounts prepared in your financial books. You have already this financial trading P&L drawn. You have the balance sheet drawn. So this is already done because financial books are anyways prepared by everyone. Now for doing cost accounting, what they are doing is now, since you are having a separate set of books for cost accounting, the purpose is to achieve only the cost accounting objectives. What are those objectives? Finding out cost, fixing price, control reduction, decision making. That's it. Now, when this is the approach that I only want to achieve the costing purposes, my costing purposes are achieved with these accounts only. I need not prepare any other account. But the problem with these accounts is I can achieve the costing objective here, but the problem is my accounting is incomplete because I'm not able to pass the second effect of some transactions. Like as I said, material purchase, what is the second effect? I cannot pass. Labor cost incurred, the second effect I cannot pass. Why I cannot pass? Because these are the accounts which are required for completing the second effect. Now, if I'm following non-integrated approach, which means I'm preparing a separate costing books, in costing, I do not need the details of cash balance, bank balance, debtor balance, creditor, or my assets. I don't require these details for cost accounting. So I will not take the pain of opening all these accounts separately. And anyways, why I don't need it? Because it's already done by the financial. So as a company, whatever details you want for each asset and liability, that is already done by the financial books. Why will I repeat it unnecessarily in my costing books? So I will not be preparing these accounts because now my books are only exclusively for costing. But then the same problem is that if I do not prepare these accounts, I will not be able to achieve the double entry effect for some transactions. So what I do is Besides these accounts, which are now compulsory for cost accounting, see, these accounts are compulsory. 5 expenses, 3 products, cost P&L. Without this, cost accounting cannot be done. So these are anyways compulsory. Now, what is the difference if you are following integrated? With these accounts, you also prepare separate asset and liabilities account. This is what we understood. But when you are preparing non-integrated, besides all these accounts, what you will be preparing is one single account, which will be cash also, which will be bank also, which will be capital also, which will be reserve also, which will be land also, which will be plant and machinery, which will be building, which will be debtors, which will be creditors. I will prepare one single account representing all these assets and liabilities. So when I'm doing non-integrated, when I'm doing non-integrated, besides these accounts, which anyways require compulsory, all these accounts of expenses, all these accounts of products, besides these accounts, I will prepare one account which will represent all these assets and liabilities at one place. Now, what will happen in this? When I purchase material, material account is debited and this account will get credited. When I make payment to labor, labor account is debited, this account is credited. Now, it may be either in cash, it may be credit, it may be by way of loan or not loan, that is on credit. Whatever it is, one single account will be credited. So, instead of preparing separate account for each asset liability, I will merge all these assets liabilities and prepare one single account. Now see, this account I do not need for cost accounting, but I need for completing the second effect of some transactions. So best what I did is, instead of preparing these accounts separately, because I don't need their details separately, I will merge all these accounts to prepare one single account. So what is the difference between integrated and non-integrated? Is only these assets and liabilities accounts. If you are following the integrated approach, you will have separate asset liability account. If you are following the non-integrated approach, you will have all these assets and liabilities merged into one single account. So the final complete list of accounts that you prepare is, this is compulsory. So this set is compulsory. Whether you do integrated, non-integrated, you require these accounts, because without these accounts, your cost accounting purpose cannot be achieved. So these accounts are compulsory. Now with these accounts, if you are following integrated approach, you will prepare separate asset liability account that will complete your accounting. If you are following non-integrated approach, which I already mentioned is happening everywhere, along with these accounts, you will prepare one single account representing all these assets and liabilities in one counter. So between integrated and non-integrated, what will change is only how your asset liabilities accounts are prepared. Is this clear to everyone? Anybody has any questions, doubts on this? Let us first understand before I proceed. Students, let me know your questions and doubts. Yes, students, let me know your inputs. Yes. Silesh, there is a name of this account, which is all assets and liabilities combined. I'm coming to that. First, I want to make you understand the broad structure. I'll give you the name of that account. Don't worry, Silesh. You're right. There is a separate name for this account. Yes. Obviously, Gurmeet, without practical questions, how will you understand the accounting? But before practical, I'll have to make the conceptual part clear, no? Because until unless you know what these accounts are, how can we jump to the practical part? So just wait. After this, we are doing practical only. Yes, students, tell me. Any questions or doubts? Everybody clear? Excellent. So once you have understood this, let me now take you to the practical part. And as I said, majorly what we practically do in real life is non-integrated. So majorly your exam questions are also for non-integrated, though we will also be doing sums on integrated. Now let me take you to the practical case scenario where we will studying what are the entries that are to be passed and how postings are done. So firstly, whenever you are solving this type of sum of cost accounting, you should first check in the question which method they are following. And as I said, it will always be non-integrated. Rarely it would be integrated. So I will start with non-integrated, but parallelly we will understand both. So the first account that you have to prepare is the stores ledger control account. In short, you will call it as SLC. This should require 8 to 10 lines. So generally when you're preparing this account, see, as what we used to do in accounting also, we used to first prepare all ledger accounts and then start posting so that no posting is missed. So here also you'll first prepare these accounts. So around 8 to 10 lines you will reserve for this. Then the second account that you will prepare is labor cost control account. In short, you will call it as LCC. This will require around 5 to 6 lines max. Then you have the production. Now, as we already know, this has parallel names. People call it as factory overheads. People call it as manufacturing overheads. So you can use any of these terms or the term which is given in the question. So I'm further timing using production overheads control, POC. Again, around 6 to 8 lines. Administration overheads control, AOC. Same. Selling and distribution overheads control, SNDOC, or you can simply give any short form, SNDC also you can give, because short forms you have to decide. There is no standardized list of short forms that you can give as per your choice. Then you have the work in progress control account. In short, WIPC. Again, 8 to 10 lines. Then you have the finished goods control account, FGC. 6 to 8 lines. You have the cost of sales, COS account. Again, 6 to 8 lines. And you have the costing P&L account, short cost P&L. 6 to 8 lines. So see, majorly the two big accounts which will require more number of lines is stores ledger, WIP ledger, where you have to devote 8 to 10 lines. For remaining accounts, you give 6 to 8 lines. Now, pay attention, students. Now, somebody will ask, sir, when 8 or 10, when 6 or 8? The answer is that depend upon the number of transactions given in the sub. Generally, the transactions are not very huge. So you'll use a lower limit. Like for stores, ledger, and WIP, use 8 lines. And for other account, use 6 lines. But in sums where you find many transactions given, use the higher number of lines. That is for stores, ledger, and WIP, use 10 lines. And for other accounts, use 8 lines. Now, once you prepare these, as I said above also, these are the main accounts that you will require for cost accounting. So whenever you are doing cost accounting, these are the accounts that you will compulsorily require. Now, after this, the difference between integrated and non-integrated comes. So after this, you will be preparing the account, which is different between integrated and non-integrated. Now, since we will be majorly having non-integrated sums, the account that you have to prepare is this. What is this account? One single account representing all assets and liabilities. Now, as Silesh was asking, is there a name? Yes, there is a name. What is this name? The name is Cost Ledger Control Account, CLC. Sometimes they also call it as the General Ledger Adjustment Account, GLA. You can call it as any one. Whatever name you like out of the two, you can use that name. If they have given any specific name in the question, you will take that name. Otherwise, you can take any of these names. So it is cost ledger control. It is general ledger adjustment. Keep in mind what this represents. It represents your cash balance, your bank, your debtors, your creditors, capital, reserve, land, building, plant, machinery. All these assets and liabilities are represented in this one single account. Had this sum been of integrated type, then we will not be preparing this. Why? Because in that case, you will be preparing accounts separately. So cash and bank, separate account. Land and building, separate account. Capital and reserve, separate account. Sundry debtors, separate account. Sundry creditors, separate account. So had this sum been of integrated, you would be preparing separate accounts. Right? Now, we will understand the journal entries. And for this purpose, I want every one of you to take out your notebooks, and I will be giving you the transactions that are given in a question. So you can call this as the model journal entries, like how in any accounting subject, whenever you study, you need to know what are the transactions and what are the journal entries. So here I am giving you, you can say the model journal entries that will be required. We will be going through all of these transactions in detail. So take out your notebooks and give the heading of this chapter and call it as model journal entries. Now, you divide your page into two parts. For the same transaction, we will see the entry in integrated books. We will also see the entry in non-integrated books. So divide your page into standing half, like normally what you used to do while preparing ledger accounts in the T form. We fold the page half so that we get the two parts. So fold your page into half. And now I will be giving you some transactions, some common transactions, which will always be given in the sum. And you have to pass the journal entries. I'm sure once you understand the journal entries, doing posting is then a byproduct. Now, what are these transactions given? Firstly, is everybody ready with your notebooks, your pen? Chalo, be ready. Take out your notebooks, give the heading of this chapter, divide your page into half, give the headings as integrated and non-integrated. I'll just take a short break till then you'll be ready. Just a 1 minute break. Okay. Now I'll be writing down the transactions. We will leave some space to write the journal entries. Everybody has to follow the same process. In your notebooks, write down these transactions as I'm writing. Leave the space, or you may start writing the journal entries over there. And we will discuss what are some common transactions given in the sum and what would be the journal entry. Once we discuss this, then we go to the practical sums where you are actually required to do the postings and finalize the account by passing the closing entries. So firstly, remember students, you would be given the opening balances. Obviously, whatever opening balances are given, you will post it here by saying to balance brought down, to balance brought down, to balance brought down. Generally, these are the three accounts which represents your stock of raw material, stock of WIP, stock of finished goods. So these accounts generally always have a balance. Remaining accounts may or may not be given a balance. Then besides this, you have a balance here, which will be again posted as by balance brought down. This balance represent what? Net balance of all these accounts. So these are all asset liability accounts. So definitely there should be some balance. So in non-integrated, you'll have balance 1, 2, 3, 4 always. Besides this, you may have maybe opening balances here given in the sum in the overheads. But these four balances will always be there. That is the balances of stock, all the three stocks, and the net balance of the remaining assets and liabilities. If this is integrated sum, again you'll have these three balances same of material, of WIP, of finished goods, and then you'll have respective opening balances in the respective accounts. Correct? So this will be the only difference in opening balances. And this is how you will identify whether the question is of integrated or non-integrated. So if it is integrated, you will be given opening balances of each of these assets, liabilities independently, separately. If it is a non-integrated sum, you will not be given balances of assets and liabilities separately. It would be combined under the name cost ledger control or general ledger adjustment. So firstly, in any accounting sum, as you have the opening balances, here also you'll have opening balances for which we all know what is the posting. Now we start with the model journal entries. So first transaction. Now, exam sums or the actual sums which you are going to solve after this may not have it in a sequence, but I'm purposefully taking it in a sequence just for a better understanding purpose. So we have material purchased. A common transaction, let us say rupees 100, and out of this 60% is on credit. So material purchase is 100, out of which 60% is on credit. Second, wages. So direct wages, rupees 200. Indirect wages, rupees 60. So rupees 200 and rupees 60 are the figures of direct and indirect wages. Then production overheads, rupees 180. Administration overheads, rupees 210. Selling and distribution overheads, rupees 175. This transaction is what? Overheads incurred. Incurred means paid. Fine. Now, firstly, if you can observe, what are the transactions representing? All these transactions are representing the expenses incurred or paid. Like how first for material, the expenses incurred is purchases. Similarly, for wages, the expenses incurred is on both types of wages. And then for each type of overheads, how much you have spent. So broadly, these three transactions represents the transactions for expenses incurred. Every sum will have this because without expenses incurred, you cannot go to the next step. Now, since we are doing accounting, we also want to charge these expenses because we are doing cost accounting. So in cost accounting, we charge the expenses to our products. Now, for this, the transaction that would be given is material consumed, or they will say material issued for production. Let us say rupees 90. Similarly, they will say material issued for repairs. Let us say this is rupees 6. So one transaction is material issued for production, or they will say material consumed. Another transaction is material issued for repairs. Then charging direct wages and indirect wages. This will be the next transaction, which will be charging direct wages and indirect wages. Next transaction, overheads charged. See, above you were given this transaction was for overheads incurred. The next transaction is for overheads charged. Again, they will give production overheads rupees 162, administration overheads rupees 240, selling and distribution overheads rupees 160. This will be the transaction for overheads charged. Fine. So, first three transactions are for expenses incurred, that is expenses paid. Next transactions are for charging these expenses to the product, because without charging, costing does not happen. So you are charging these expenses to your products. Fine. Now there are more transactions, but before I proceed, let us first understand the journal entries of these transactions and also obviously parallelly understand the postings. Now, the simplest way of doing cost accounting initially until unless you become master is first simply understand the transaction and find out the journal entry what you would have passed had it been your normal financial accounting. So forget that this is cost accounting. What entry will pass if this is a regular financial accounting? First, think of that entry. And on that basis, we will easily find out what should be our entry if this is a cost accounting. Like, if it is material purchased, normally, what is our accounting entry? We debit purchases and we will credit cash or we will credit sundry creditors. Cash means cash bank, right? This is your normal entry if this is a normal accounting sum. Now, since we are doing cost accounting, the logic, the entries are same, only the names are different. Like, if I'm passing this entry and my method is integrated, what is the account that I'm having? I don't have a purchase account here, but here I represent material by the account called as SLC. So my entry will be SLC debit, SLC stores ledger control. Two, now see, this is integrated where I have prepared separate accounts for cash, for bank, for debtors, for creditors. So I will say cash and bank. I also have a separate account of creditors, so I will say two sundry creditors. So this will be my journal entry in integrated. What will be my journal entry in non-integrated? Same. First, I will think of the accounting entry, which is purchases to cash bank to sundry creditors. Now, here the account head that I have is SLC, which represents material. So I debit SLC. Credit will be what? Now, since my method is non-integrated, I don't have a separate account for cash bank. I don't have a separate account for creditor, debtor, land, building. Instead, I have a common merged account for all this. And what is this common merged account called? It is called as my cost ledger control or the general ledger adjustment. So I will call it as SLC to CLC. SLC is material. CLC is that common account which represents debtors, creditors, cash, bank, capital, building, machinery, everything. So if I have to pass this journal entry, it would be debit SLC 100. This is 40. This is 60. Again, debit 100, credit 100. This is the entry of cost accounting for this first transaction. Yes, Mohammed Parvez, you're right. Others, please share your view on this. If you have understood, if you have not understood. Yes, Dharni. So Dharni is asking a question, ki, sir, then whether we will not differentiate between cash and credit purchase? Answer is yes. Where? In non-integrated. Why? Because in non-integrated, I do not have a separate account for cash bank and creditor. Here I have a merged account for everything. Now, please understand, Dharni and everyone, I don't need the detail of how much is my cash bank balance or how much I have to pay to the creditor. I don't need these details for the purpose of cost accounting. Yes, I do need these details for the purpose of financial accounting, but since our method or approach is non-integrated, I have two separate books. So I'm getting these details in the financial books of how much is my cash bank, how much is the creditor balance. I'm getting it there. Here, my main purpose is the costing purpose, for which I don't want to find out how much I have made for cash, how much I have made for credit. So that is why what you are saying is perfectly right. Here, there will be no differentiation between how much is cash and credit purchase because I don't want that detail in costing. In costing, see, this is just you can say an adjustment thing. I needed this account, or I rather I needed all the assets and liabilities account just to complete my double entry. But I'm not interested in knowing the balance of each of these assets and liabilities because that is not the objective of cost accounting. So cost accounting is happy with this particular common entry, right? Chalo, I'll give you 2 minutes. Give me the journal entry for the other two transactions also. That is for wages and that is for overheads. Both transactions in integrated and non-integrated. Do it in your books. You need not put it in the chat box because it will take a lot of time in typing. You pass it in your books, we will discuss. Or if you all want, we can have a break because it is now around how much? 8:30. Could we have a break of 5-10 minutes? Yes. Okay, we'll do one thing. We'll take a break of around 10 minutes max. You'll also need a big mental break. So we will come back and we will deal with these entries. Plus, we'll also see the postings. Fine. So exact 10 minutes break. So not even 10. It is 8:32. We start at 8:40. 8 minutes break. Fine. go ahead with our entries. So now just showing you the postings. Now for the first transaction, assuming we are following non-integrated, so your posting will be like this: 2 CLC 100, and after writing the opening balance, whatever is given in the sum, you will write by SLC 100. Now, had this been integrated accounting, instead of 2 CLC, it would have been 2 cash and bank, 2 sundry creditors, 40, 60. And in the respective accounts, by SLC 40, by SLC 60. So as you can see, the difference between integrated and non-integrated is only of the second effect in these accounts representing assets and liabilities. Fine. So I'll be just showing the postings of non-integrated. So first you'll have to balance brought down whatever it is, and then you will have to CLC 100. Is this fine? Understood by all? Now let me go to the next transaction. Now wages. Again, in accounting, we don't have the bifurcation, but in cost accounting, we always show wages separately, direct and indirect. Now, what will be your accounting entry? It would be wages account debit to cash bank. Here, we have the labor cost control account. So LCC, which is the labor cost control account, that will be debited. By what account? It will be debited by 260, that is total of direct and indirect. And credit would be cash bank 260. Same, here it would be labor cost control debit 260, and credit would be to CLC 260. Right, students? So again, postings. Yes, Parvez, beta, tell me.
सर इसमें बुक्स में लिखा हुआ है कि जो डायरेक्ट ओवरहेड्स रहते हैं, डायरेक्ट वेजेस रहते हैं, तो
हाँ
उसको
जी,
वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस में लिखते हैं और
आ रहा
जो
हूँ मैं बेटा, मैं आ रहा हूँ मैं उसी पे. Just give me a minute.
ठीक है
I'm coming to that. So postings will be like this, right? Now, see, expenses incurred, respective expense account debited, and credit would be, if it is a non-integrated case, credit would be to the common account, which is the CLC, that is the cost ledger control account. यही अगर integrated hota, the credit would have been to cash bank, the credit would have been to creditor, depending upon what is the scenario. Now, next transaction is overheads incurred, matlab overheads paid. What will be the entry? Again, overheads account debited, obviously you call it as control, to cash bank. Same thing is in non-integrated, overheads account debited, and credit is the common account, which is the CLC. So 210, sorry, 180, 210, 175. Same here, 180, 210, 175. So total कितना हो गया? Total हो गया आपका 565. Correct, students? So again, the postings accordingly. To CLC, to CLC, to CLC, and in CLC, all these would be credited by POC, AOC, S, and DOC. Fine, students, clear up to this point? Should we proceed? Right? Now, the first three transactions that we discuss represents expenses incurred. So जब आप खर्चा इनकर कर रहे हो, पे कर रहे हो, एक्सपेंस अकाउंट डेबिट करते हैं, और क्रेडिट हम किसको करते हैं? कैश बैंक क्रेडिटर. इंटीग्रेटेड में इट विल बी कैश बैंक क्रेडिटर ओनली. इन केस ऑफ नॉन इंटीग्रेटेड इट विल बी CLC. सो सिंपल है. अब आता है जो हमने फाइनेंशियल में नहीं किया कभी, दैट इज charging this expenses to product. Now here I would like to show it firstly from here. See, चार्जिंग, ये हम वर्ड फर्स्ट लेक्चर से डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, विच सिंपली मींस कि आपने जो भी टोटल खर्चा किया है उसमें से एक प्रोडक्ट के लिए कितना किया है उतना उस प्रोडक्ट को आप ट्रांसफर कर दो. सो दिस इज माय टोटल मटेरियल. Out of this, whatever material I have consumed for this first product, let us say this is your job X, that much I'll transfer to job X WIP account. Similarly, whatever expense I have done for job Y, that will be transferred to the job Y WIP account. अब यहाँ पे job X, job Y WIP account आपको separate नहीं दिख रहा है क्योंकि ये control account है, पर आपके पास separate account है in the WIP ledger. So what will happen? Each WIP will be debited with the respective amount of material that that particular job or product has consumed. Same thing will happen for labor. Whatever labor you have worked on each product, each job, that will be transferred to the respective WIP accounts. Same thing will happen for production overheads. जितना भी overheads आपने हर product के लिए use किया है, that will be transferred to that product's WIP account. Now what will happen by doing this charging entry? You will be debiting the direct material here, the direct wages here, the production overheads here, whatever are required for the first product. Similarly, it will be debited for the second product, similarly for the third product. So automatically यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है, अगर आप ऑब्जर्व करो तो कॉस्ट शीट जैसा बनते जाएगा, because every expense is getting added to that particular products account. So automatically उसके अकाउंट में जैसे से एक एक एक्सपेंस आप ऐड कर रहे हो, एक एक एक्सपेंस आप चार्ज कर रहे हो, उस प्रोडक्ट का टोटल कॉस्ट बनते जा रहा है. So this is how what you do costing in cost sheet gets reflected in your books of cost, that is the cost accounting books, in the form of these ledger accounts, right? So if you have understood this logical flow, let us now start passing the proper entries. Right? Again, you will have the balance. Whatever is given in the sum, this represents the opening stock of these all accounts. Now, क्या दिया है आपको नीचे ट्रांजैक्शन में? They have said material consumed or issued for production. अब ये वो मटेरियल है जो आपने प्रोडक्ट बनाने के लिए यूज किया. दिस इज व्हाट विल बी ट्रांसफर्ड फ्रॉम द मटेरियल अकाउंट टू द प्रोडक्ट अकाउंट. नाउ you have three product accounts, right? You have the WIP, this is also product. You have the finished goods, this is also product. You have the cost of sales, this is also product. अब आपको काफी बार कंफ्यूजन हो सकता है, होना तो नहीं चाहिए पर हो सकता है कि कौन सा एक्सपेंस इन तीनों में से किस प्रोडक्ट अकाउंट को चार्ज करना है या ट्रांसफर करना है. आई विल गिव यू अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग लॉजिक टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस, जिससे आप समझ भी सकोगे और याद रखना भी इजी हो जाएगा. WIP is your factory. Finished goods is your godown. And cost of sales is your customer. Just remember this. So these three accounts are what? So till anything is happening in factory, that is what is shown in the WIP account. If something is in the godown, that is what is the finished goods account. And if something has gone to the customer, it is what is the cost of sales account. Just remember this. Correct? Now, मटेरियल कंज्यूम्ड और इशूड फॉर प्रोडक्शन. प्रोडक्शन कहाँ पे होता है? फैक्ट्री में. सो you have to debit the factory related account, which is the WIP account, because it is the one which is receiving the material. And who is giving the material? Your stores is giving the material. That is the material. Stores is giving the material. So SLC will be credited. So how much material you have consumed in production? It is 90. Interestingly, what will be the entry here? It will be same as in case of integrated. Now, interestingly, the entry for integrated and for non-integrated is same. Why it is same? Because the difference between integrated and non-integrated is only the asset liability accounts. That is this account. या तो आप इधर इंडिपेंडेंट अकाउंट बनाते हो असेट लायबिलिटी के इंटीग्रेटेड में, या नॉन इंटीग्रेटेड में मर्ज करके बनाते हो. बट एज फार एज दीज अदर अकाउंट्स आर कंसर्न, जो कि मेन कॉस्टिंग और कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग के अकाउंट्स है, दे रिमेन सेम अंडर इंटीग्रेटेड एंड नॉन इंटीग्रेटेड. दैट इज वाई वेयर देर इज एनी ट्रांजैक्शन which is not requiring your assets and liabilities. I repeat, when there is any transaction which is not requiring your assets and liabilities, the entry under integrated, non-integrated will be same. So as you can see, material which is consumed or issued for production, entry is WIP account to stores ledger control. WIP account to stores ledger control. Next, you would be given in the sum material which is issued for repairs. Now this represents your indirect material. अब एक चीज याद रखिए, indirect is always charged to the product but by the name of overheads. So जो कुछ भी indirect cost है आपका, indirect material, indirect labor, ये सबसे पहले आप overheads में ट्रांसफर करेंगे और फिर overheads उसे चार्ज करेगा. So if I have to show it here, I had purchased material of 100, out of which जो डायरेक्ट मटेरियल था, जो प्रोडक्शन में डायरेक्टली यूज हुआ, वो यहां से यहां ट्रांसफर होके चार्ज हो गया. बट इसमें से कुछ मटेरियल मैंने इनडायरेक्टली यूज किया है, मतलब प्रोडक्ट में यूज नहीं किया है, बाकी कामों के लिए यूज किया. जैसे यहाँ पे दिया रिपेयर्स. अब रिपेयर्स कुछ नहीं बोला है, तो आई एम अज्यूमिंग इट इज रिपेयर्स ऑफ मशीनरी, क्योंकि जनरली रिपेयर्स उसी को लगता है. इसे मैं ट्रांसफर करूंगा उस जगह पे जहां पे ये मटेरियल यूज हुआ है. वेयर इज दिस मटेरियल यूज? दिस मटेरियल यूज इनडायरेक्टली. और जहां पे भी आपका कोई भी इनडायरेक्ट कॉस्ट है, वो हमेशा ओवरहेड्स के नाम से ही चार्ज होता है. सो इट शुड ऑलवेज बी ट्रांसफर्ड टू ओवरहेड्स. सो व्हाट आई विल डू इज, दिस अमाउंट आई विल ट्रांसफर टू ओवरहेड्स एंड लेट ओवरहेड्स चार्ज इट. अब यही अगर रिपेयर्स ऑफिस इक्विपमेंट का होता है, I would have transferred it to administration overheads. Had this repairs been of delivery van or something related to your selling and distribution function, I would have transferred this to S&D. But if nothing is given, we always assume that it is relating to the factory repairs, that is repairs happening in some of the factory related items. So we transfer it to production overheads control. So यहाँ पे आएगा 2SLC 5. So my journal entry here would be, I have given the material for repairs, assuming repairs is of machinery. So who is getting this material? The production overheads account is getting this material. So production overheads control is debited. Who is giving the material? The material account is giving the material. So SLC is credited. Again, here the entry would be same. So production overheads control debit. Who is giving the material? The material account, that is SLC, will be credited. Is it 6? Okay, 6. Fine. 6. 6. ठीक है? Perfect. Now, we charge material, both direct and indirect. Now you have to charge the wages also. Direct wages, indirect wages. Now please pay attention. You will be given two separate entries in the sum for purchasing material and also for consuming material, whether direct, indirect. Similarly, you will be given separate entries in the sum for overheads which you have paid or incurred and overheads which you have to charge. मटेरियल के लिए, ओवरहेड्स के लिए आपको दो अलग अलग एंट्रीज दी जाएंगी, इनकर्ड की और चार्ज की. बट द सेम थिंग विल नॉट हैपन फॉर लेबर. लेबर के लिए आपको दो एंट्रीज नहीं दी रहेंगी. फॉर लेबर, in the question only one transaction would be given, that is this. For labor, only one transaction would be given, that is this. Bus. For this one transaction, you have to pass both entries. First for incurred and then second for charged. So what I'm trying to tell you is एग्जाम सम में, प्रैक्टिकल सम में आपको वेजेस की एंट्री एक ही बार दी रही. बाय योर ओन सेल्फ you have to pass both the entries. Taking the same figures, first pass the entry for labor costs incurred, which is this. Labor debit, cash bank credit. Labor debit, CLC credit. And then again for the same transaction given, you will pass the second entry, which is now for charging this direct and indirect wages. Now coming to the point which Mohammad Parvez was trying to highlight, that direct wages has to be charged to WIP control. Why? Because where is labor direct worker being used? He is used in factory, and factory is represented by WIP. But indirect wages, it may be again of the factory workers, but they are indirect, and I have just explained all indirect has to be charged by first transferring it to overhead. Now, indirect wages is for factory, so we will first transfer it to production goods. So my entry would be the direct wages will be transferred to WIP account. The indirect wages will be transferred to production overheads control account, and the amount I already have in this 260. So please understand, students, for wages, you have to remember they will give you transaction only once, but you have to pass the entry twice. First for incurring, क्योंकि obviously पहले आप wages pay करोगे और उसके बाद you will charge. So you pass the entry for incurring. Now you pass the entry for charging. Same thing if it is in non-integrated also. So direct wages, indirect wages to LCC. Again, the entries are same. Why they are same? Because we do not require the assets and liabilities account here also. So postings, हम यहां से डायरेक्ट वेजेस इधर चार्ज करेंगे टू LCC. इनडायरेक्ट वेजेस हम ओवरहेड्स को ट्रांसफर करेंगे। Is this clear to all? Yes, students? Anybody having any questions or doubts? Parvez, beta, I hope your doubt is now clear, or your point which you are highlighting is now addressed. Good. Others, please confirm if you are in sync with me, if you are understanding. Everybody. Gurmeet, I hope this practical question is helping you understand whatever we were having discussion in the first 1 hour, understanding the concept. Mohammed, beta, I have transferred 200 ना, ये रहा ना, हमने WIP में तो 200 ट्रांसफर किया, so 200 goes to WIP, 60 goes to production overheads. So direct wages goes to WIP, indirect wages goes to production overheads. Correct na? This is what you are also saying. This is what we have also done. But the point is, first you will pass the entry for paying the wages. Logically, pehle pay hi hoga. So you pass the entry for paying, and then you pass the entry for transferring or charging. Correct? Now, the next transaction is for overheads charged. So we already passed the entry for overheads incurred here, all overheads debited and cash bank or CLC credited. Now we have to pass the entry for overheads charged. Now, interestingly, we have 3 overheads and we have 3 products. So we will charge 1 overhead to 1 product account. And again, the transaction would be same here. So it is 162, 240, 160. Correct? Again, same entry in both. Integrated, non-integrated, both. Now see, by WIPC, by FGC, by COS. 162, 240, 160. 162, 240, 160. So there are 3 product accounts. There are 3 overheads accounts. Each overhead you transfer to each product. Now, understanding this logically, this is production related. So obviously it should go to factory. So POC charged here. Finished goods, you will charge the administration overhead. So this amount will go to FG. So administration overheads amount is charged here. Similarly, selling and distribution overheads is charged here. Correct, students? I hope you are understanding this. See, I'm going slow because these are all new concepts, new transactions. It may take some time to percolate, but it is fun, it is interesting. Right? Now, so I repeat, we have 3 transactions which represents expenses incurred or paid. Similarly, we will have furthermore transactions for charging these expense. Out of this transaction is not given in the sum. That is for charging the labor. You have to pass this entry by yourself after passing the entry for labor cost incurred. For material and for overheads, this transaction would be given, but not for labor. Understood? Now, how many transactions are done? 7. So let me take you to the next transaction. Now, after charging these expenses to your products, we will have the next category of transactions whereby the product balances are transferred. Like when you finish your production, the goods will be transferred from factory to godown. Similarly, when these goods are sold, they will be transferred from godown to the customer. So what I'm trying to tell you is, now we will be passing these entries for transferring the product balance from one product account to another. So for this, the transactions given is finished goods produced or cost of goods produced. Let us say it is given 450. Next, cost of goods sold. Let us say 550. Now, what is this finished goods produced or cost of goods produced? Please understand, when you started production, this happened in factory. You brought raw material, you applied your labor, and you applied all factory related overheads like machines, etc. And with all this, you made the finished goods. Once these finished goods get produced, they will be going from factory to godown. So now this is what this transaction represents, which is called as finished goods produced or cost of goods produced. So whenever this transaction is given, what they are trying to tell you in the question is that now you have completed so much of production in your factory. Now what is completed in factory will go to your godown, which is represented by the finished goods account. Now since these finished goods are coming to the godown, your finished goods account is debited. And who is giving this? It is being given by the factory. So your WIP control account is credited. Same entry will be passed here because assets accounts are not involved. So 450. Once the goods are produced, the factory will be giving it to the stores. Factory is represented by your WIP account. Stores are represented by your finished goods account. So this will be the entry for finished goods which are produced and they will get transferred to your godown. So by FGC 450 to WIPC 450. So this you have to understand that after each stage is getting done, the balances have to be transferred to the next stage. So once product is completed, the production will get transferred. Now this will happen physically also. Your final products will be shifted from the production area to the stores, to the godowns. So that is where you pass this entry that you ship the finished goods from WIP to your FG account. Similarly, once customers buy these goods or you sell these goods to customer, it will get transferred to the customer account from your godown. Because once you sell it, the goods go out of your godown and they go to the customer. So it will also get transferred. So the entry for this is what is normally given in the question as cost of goods sold. So this will go to the customer, which is represented by COS. And who is giving this? Your stores is giving this, which is represented by FGC. So same account, customer account, which is COS, and given by your stores, which is FGC. Understood? So these two transactions are representing your transfer of goods. By COS to FGC 550. Now, interestingly, students, after this, the only entry which is left is the entry for sales. So let us say the sales given in the sum is rupees 1000, and it says out of this 50% is on creditor. Now, interestingly, pay attention, students. For sales, what is the entry we pass in our accounting? We have debtors, we have cash in bank, we have sales. So this account, you will pass it like this, 500, 500,000. Interestingly, if you observe, we do not have a sales account here. Why we do not have a sales account? Again, please understand, we are not interested in knowing the value of sales from the perspective of costing. So we don't prepare a sales account. But then how we will post this transaction, because sales are given in the sum. Interestingly, what happens in your financial accounting? First, you pass the entry for sales, and then these sales get transferred to your trading and P&L account. That is how you get the sales on the credit side of your trading and P&L account. That is particularly the trading part. Now, since we are not preparing the sales account in our cost accounting, and I want to pass the entry for sales, how I will pass? I will make a combined entry for both these transactions. Now, if you make a combined entry for both these transactions, sales and sales will get cancelled. Sales debit, sales credit will get knocked off. So eventually, what is the entry left? Debtors debit 500, cash bank debit 500 to the trading P&L account 1000. Now I will substitute it by the ledger account that we have. So in integrated, we have debtor, we have cash and bank, and for this, we have the cost P&L. So my entry in the integrated part would be this. In the non-integrated, I do not have these two accounts. Instead, I have the CLC, that is the combined account for all assets and liabilities. So CLC to cost P&L 1000. So this will be the entry for sales, which is actually a combined entry of two different transactions that we pass in our financial accounting. We merge both these transactions, so we get a combined entry in our costing for sales. So it will be CLC, which is representing your debtors, which is representing your cash bank, to cost P&L, because eventually the sales gets transferred to your trading P&L account at the end of the year. So we are combining both these transactions. So my entry is for sales, I have by CLC. In bracket, I am writing sales so that me and the examiner both will understand that you have passed this entry for sales. And here the second effect will be on the debit side of this. So to cost P&L, again represented by sales 1000. Had this been integrated, so here I will not write by CLC, I will write by cash bank. So cash bank will be debited to cost P&L 500. Also, I would have written debtors. So debtors would get debited to cost P&L 500. So 500, 500 cost P&L credit is 1000. So had this been integrated, instead of CLC, there would have been two accounts, cash and bank and sundry debtors. So effectively, the sales entry will be credited to your cost P&L, the entire sales amount, and the corresponding debits would be in the account that depends upon the method of cost accounting you are following, whether integrated or non-integrated. Generally, it is non-integrated, so it will go to the CLC account. This is fine. Now, technically, your entries will be over here. However, if the sum is purely on integrated, you may have some more transactions given in the sum, like payment received from debtors, rupees 450, payment made to creditors, rupees 240. Now, these are pure financial entries. Cash and bank to sundry debtors, this is for payment received. Sundry creditors to cash and bank, this is for payment made. And most important, there is no entry for this in your non-integrated. Why? Because in non-integrated, this is also CLC, this is also CLC. If I have to actually pass an entry for this, it will be CLC to CLC only. Because cash bank is also CLC, debtors, creditors are also CLC. So there will be no entry passed for pure financial transactions in your non-integrated method of accounting. Silesh, I'm coming to that. Profit and loss, where it will come, I'm coming to that. Because profit and loss is actually a balancing figure. So we'll come to that. Firstly, I'm showing you the transactions where express transactions are given in the sum. Profit and loss and all are your balancing transactions. So that will come. So students, broadly, these are the different transactions that are given in a sum. You may have 1, 2, or 3 more transactions besides this, but these are the most repetitive ones, the common ones that are given in every question. And also the respective journal entries that we have discussed. I hope all this is clear to everyone. Once this is clear, now let me take you to the final part of cost accounting, that is, how do you close? So after you have passed the journal entries and done the posting, generally journal entries are not asked, that you will do it in your mind just to understand the postings. So no journal entry is required, you are only doing the postings. But after you have done the postings of all the entries that are given in the question, now you have to do balancing. How? Pay attention. I'll go to each account separately. First, I have the materials account, which is called as the stores ledger control. Now, in this stores ledger control, just 1 second. Yes. So in this stores ledger control, you had opening balance of material, you had purchase, you have material consumed. What will happen? You will find out the closing balance. This will be the balancing figure. So how this account will get closed? Stores ledger will get closed by passing the closing entry, which is of the balancing figure, which is your balance carried down. This account is closed. Labor. If you remember, I had passed both the entries myself. Because single transaction was given, I first passed the entry for paying the labor. Secondly, I passed the entry for transferring the labor. So effectively, this is closed automatically. Now comes the tricky part. Now in overheads, generally, I repeat, generally, there is no opening closing balance. I repeat, generally, right? Now, since there is no opening closing balance, what will happen of overheads? Overheads account represent what? Please pay attention. This is slightly tricky and very interesting. Yes, Mohammed, you're right. This is the overheads incurred. This is the overheads charged. The difference between two represents under over absorption. If you remember, this was our last part in the overheads chapter. The difference between debit and credit side of overheads represents the under over absorption. In this example, it is under absorption. Why? Because debit side is higher. So you have paid more, but you have charged less. Since you have charged less, there is under absorption. And since there is under absorption, it becomes a loss which is transferred to costing P&L. So this difference will go to costing P&L. So in costing P&L, I'll have two production overheads control the balancing figure. Similarly, in administration, you have paid less and charged more. So here it is over absorption. Again, it goes to costing P&L, the difference. So by administration overheads. And again, in selling distribution overheads, whatever is the difference will go to costing P&L. This represents the difference, which is either profit or loss. And why this has arisen? This has arisen because we charge overheads by using estimated rate, which is calculated at the start of the year. You remember overhead chapter, we find out the ORR at the start of the year, taking all estimated values. There is a very good possibility that these overheads will never get completely charged. Either it will be charged more because of the estimated rate, or it will be charged less because of the estimated rate. And since this is happening, the difference is the difference arising because of wrong estimation. We transfer it to cost P&L. This is the general rule. Now, the most interesting point. Whether overheads account can have balances. The first answer could be no, as pointed out by Mohammad Parvez, that there cannot be a balance in these accounts because these represents pure expense. They are not your stock that there will be a balance. But still, in certain questions, you will be given balance. Now, the question is, why for we have these balances or what these balance represent? These balance may represent the outstanding or prepaid of these expenses. So like production overheads control, if it has a debit balance as the opening balance, it means there was some amount of production overheads which remained balance in the previous period. And what was this balance representing? It was representing prepaid. Other way around, if there is an opening credit balance, it represents that there was some outstanding expense. So had there been opening balance which represents prepaid or outstanding, similarly, there can be closing balance representing prepaid or outstanding. So if it is given in the question, one, that this much is prepaid or outstanding at the end, you have to show it as closing balance. Two, if in the sum they ask you specifically to carry forward the balance in overheads, please understand what they are trying to tell you is that it represents some difference arising because of prepaid or outstanding, and that you will carry forward. So in overheads account, you may have opening closing balance, but then that would be specifically mentioned in the question. This is fine. Now, WIP had opening representing the opening stock of WIP. Similarly, you have material which is transferred to factory for production, labor, direct wages, and overheads which are charged. And at the end, whatever was produced is transferred to godown. Now comes the closing part. You will have balance carried down, which will represent your closing WIP. Again, you have to find out this and show it as balance carried down. This account is closed. Right? Silesh is asking, sir, can we carry forward the unabsorbed overheads? Answer is Silesh, yes. And that is what I just explained. They will ask you in the question to carry forward, you carry forward. If they do not say anything, it is better to transfer it to costing. Now, again, you had opening balance of finished goods. At the end, you will find out the balance carried down, which will represent the closing balance of finished goods. Again, it will be by balance carried down, and this account will get closed. Now, the most important part. What is this cost of sales representing? It is representing goods sent to customer, for which this was your cost, and to this you charge the selling distribution overheads. Now, what you have to do is this amount will be transferred to your cost P&L account. So you transfer this amount to cost P&L while closing COS account. So 710 will be transferred here. See, all the red which you can see are the balancing entries which are not expressly given in the sum. It will come only when you are balancing the accounts, right? Any questions? Any questions, students? Now, here if you can see, I had intentfully left 10. 10 is for what? COS transferred to cost P&L. Now see, this is a transaction, but it is never given in the sum. Why it is never given in the sum? Because this you find out by yourself when you are balancing. So COS, whatever is the balance, you transfer it to cost P&L. Now, pay attention. This is what is the total cost of your product. This is what is the sales value of your product. And if you remember at the start, I had explained this, that when you reach your cost P&L, debit, you will get the total cost, credit, you will get the sales. So by comparing these two figures, you will get to know the profit loss of each product. So this will show you the total cost of each product. This will show you the sales value of each product. And by comparing this, you will get the profit and loss of each product. Understood, students? Any questions, students? Now, Silesh, your question will be answered. Now, after all these transactions have come to the cost P&L, that is the sales, the total cost, the difference in your overheads. If there is any abnormal loss, that is also transferred to cost P&L. Now, finally, I find out the balancing figure, which represents my net profit or loss. Now, importantly, you will not simply find out this net profit and keep it here. It is actually transferred to some account. So in bracket, I write that what this balance represents, it represents net profit or loss. Now, where do we transfer our profit? We transfer it either to capital if it is a proprietary or a partnership concern, and we transfer it to our different reserves if it is a corporate. And both these are represented by CLC. So interestingly, whatever is my net profit or loss, that will be transferred from here to my CLC account, which represents the capital and reserve both. I hope this is clear. Students, yes? Students, I'm asking you, is it clear? Okay. So the profit, whatever balance it is coming, it will be transferred to my by cost P&L representing net profit. Yes. No, but it is not very time taking, Tanu, because I'm going slow because it is your first question. I'm showing you journal entry and ledger posting both. Actually, when we start solving the sums, you will find that it is not taking more than 10 minutes to complete the entire sum, right? So don't worry, it will not take time. We are doing both journal entry and posting parallelly. Plus, I'm also giving you writing the transactions. I'm also explaining you. That is why it is taking time. In exams, once you expertise on this, it will not take more than 10 minutes. Right? Okay. So see students, where we have reached, our P&L is also closed and the difference representing net profit is transferred to my CLC. You had opening balance in this representing the net balance of all assets liabilities. Now you'll also have the closing balance of this, which will again represent the net assets liabilities balance, and that will be carried forward. Yes, Mohammed Parvez Beda. Wherever the balance is coming, that will represent the profit or loss. Tanu, generally in exams, only postings are required. Journal entries are never asked. I explained with journal entries so that you understand. Right? Any questions further, students? Now I'll just show you the actual sum so that you will get a feel which you can practice. I've already uploaded this on our portal. So you have a question like this. So you are given the opening balances, which will show as your balance, opening balance. And then you'll have all these transactions for which you have to do postings along with whatever extra information is given. And then at the end, you will do balancing. Now you will see that they have only said show necessary ledger accounts. So generally in majority sums, they will ask only one. I think this was Tanu, your question. They will not ask both because the maximum marks allocation is 6 to 8. So that is where it will not be both. It will be only one. Silesh is asking, sir, if there is any abnormal loss, how it will be shown? I'll show you, Silesh. Let us say in the question they have given that there is some abnormal loss here. So it will be by cost P&L. So before you balance, let us say there is abnormal loss of 3 given in the sum. Now abnormal loss we all know has to be transferred to P&L. So from here we transfer it to cost P&L. So in cost P&L it will come as 2SLC3. And then you find out the net profit. Here also after writing the abnormal loss, you'll find out the balancing figure. Now this abnormal loss can happen anywhere in material, in labor, in overheads, in WIP. In fact, I don't know whether process costing is done or not. Process costing, if you have done, process costing is nothing but the WIP account. If you see in process costing also, you have opening WIP, you have material, labor, production overheads. Credit side, you have normal loss, abnormal loss, and you have finished goods and you have closing WIP. So if you remember over there, you also studied abnormal gain. So even if there is any abnormal gain, it will be transferred from here to cost P&L. And it will come on the credit side of P&L because it is a gain. So if there is any abnormal item, Silesh beta given in the sum, it will go to cost P&L. And then you will do the final balancing. So see, these are the entries that would be given. So you first make postings of all these entries like I was showing this. Here only if there is any normal, abnormal given, they would mention. You will transfer it to the cost P&L. And then after posting all these entries, you will start doing balancing. Is this fine?
Mr. Bishal, Dr. Sengupta this side. Can
Good
you hear
morning,
me?
sir. Yes, sir. Good
Yeah.
morning.
Just a couple of things for the students. Hello, students. Sir has explained the under absorption and over absorption. The concept is very, very important because many times we have seen that the students are unable to understand and implement the question in the real exam time condition. So, sir has explained it beautifully, and I will request all the students to go through the concept very, very carefully. And yes, maximum time we get the question of ledger, But sometimes general entries also comes for 3 to 4 marks only, and generally those are very normal journal entries, nothing to worry at all. And as far as the time taking is concerned, some of the students were asking, I may tell it to you that this is probably one of the easiest question as far as the time consumption is concerned. Once you will understand the concept, the time consumption is not going to be much. And sir is going to explain the further topic in the next class as well. And if you have any particular doubt, you kindly come back to us. Sir, you may kindly continue.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the inputs. So, students, I think you all have got this. Jaindra will keep your question pending for the next class. Your question will require some understanding, firstly, of the ledger accounts. So, let us keep this pending for today. Students, I'll have a request that now, since I've explained you the entire working, whoever wants a revision, you can go back to our lecture because the recorded versions are available. And I've already uploaded this yesterday itself, so I'm sure this would be available on your portal by today. So I will request that at least question 1 and 2 you solve and come in the next class, so that when we are actually dealing with the sums, if you have already solved it, you can even do the next two also. So 1, 2, 3, 4 also you can do. Once you have done it something at your end, then when I'm again solving this in the class, then it will be only auditing for you. It will be only matching for you. And since you have done it firstly by yourself, if there is any conceptual query that you are getting while solving, that will be addressed when I'm solving this in the exam, in the class. So I'll request you all that please compulsorily solve 1 and 2. And yes, optionally, you can also solve the next 2 and come in the class. Fine. So this is already uploaded, so you'll get it on your portal. You can download it from there. Initial part is the theoretical part, which we discuss in detail. And for maybe revision, if you want something again to be understood, you can go back to the recorded lecture and then start solving. So that's it all from my side. Students, I hope you would have understood everything properly. I've tried to go to the basic details of each and every part. And as Sen Gupta sir pointed out, this is actually a very scoring topic in the exams. So I'll request everyone to give a due consideration for practicing this, and it will definitely give you a very good marks in the exams. So with this, I conclude. Thank you very much. If anybody has any particular thing, we will take it in the next class, and please come solve. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Yes, sir. Session is over from my side. Thank you. Thank you. Sir.